This episode is brought to you by HASA. Liquid is clearly better. Liquid chlorine is the highest purity, works immediately, has no added cyanuric acid or calcium, and it will leave your pool safe, clean, and clear. And by the Bottom Feeder professional grade battery powered vacuum system. It sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off with code DVB100.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
And welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to go over some common do-it-yourself misconceptions about swimming pool care. Now, I just want to emphasize that you can do your own pool, but you have to have certain elements in place to be successful at it. And I've taken on many accounts from homeowners who are not successful at doing the pool themselves. And there's a point where you may want to get professional help. And I'm going to go over some common issues you run into with your pool care. Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy Coaching Program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support. From me, I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. There are a lot of places that you can get knowledge on pool care from. Of course, YouTube is a great source, and you can also learn from just experience, trial and error out there, which is kind of how a lot of people did it in the past before the advent of YouTube, where there was a lot of self-help videos or tutorial videos, I should say, about pool care. But I'm going to go over some of the things that I see when I take over an account where the customer was struggling and they just put their hands up and they just handed the keys over to the pool service company. I think you need to have 3 elements in place if you're going to service the pool yourself. And I've spoken about these 3 elements before, and it's key, I think. And if one of these elements is missing, you're not going to be successful at self-care for the pool. So the first one is time. So you need to have time to be able to service the pool. The second thing is knowledge. You need to know what you're doing to some extent. Not perfectly, maybe not to a professional level, but a pretty good knowledge of pool care. And 3, you're going to have the willpower to want to do it or actually get out there and do the service on the pool. And 1 and 2 sound similar. 1 and 3 sound similar, but they're actually different. You can have time to do it, but you just don't have the motivation and you don't care to do it. And that does come into play where I take over a lot of accounts from customers that, yes, they work from home and, they have time to do it, but they just aren't motivated and they just lack that kind of, the pool's here and I'm just going to take care of it the best I can kind of attitude. It doesn't work well. You really have to be dedicated and want to do it. And a lot of do-it-yourself homeowners excel at this. They're really great. They're like semi-pro. They go on Trouble-Free Pool Forum. They're posting. They're figuring things out. And that's great. I mean, if you can do it yourself, and you have the time to do it, it's not really going to affect the pool industry sector because there's always going to be those that need service. It's just like any other business, and it's really frustrating when pool service pros feel like, people shouldn't do their pools themselves. Same with auto mechanics. They probably feel the same way. Hey, no one should change their own oil. And same with, landscapers or gardeners. Like, man, this guy doesn't know how to take care of his yard. He should hire a professional. But some people just don't want to do it. So there's a segment of people that are always going to do it themselves. They're going to put in their own microwave ovens. They're not going to hire anybody. They're going to fix their own irrigation system. And that's perfectly fine. There's another segment that just don't want to touch anything or do anything. And they want to hire someone to do it. And that's the segment for pool service. So there's 2 distinct segments. Some crossover here and there. But I really think there's just 2 segments, and that's all there is to it. And there's no sense arguing and debating. It's just people do their pools themselves, and some of them have the knowledge to do it themselves as well. And that was point number 2. having the knowledge of balancing the pool and keeping it sparkling blue all season long. So here is the number one thing that I think happens that causes problems when you're trying to do it yourself, and that is the pool gets away from you. Now this can happen pretty rapidly, and this is something that, you have to understand. Once it happens, you have to get on top of it right away, or it's going to just be like a runaway train at this point. I have a neighbor that does all his own service on his car, and he was trying to fix some part on there that was super complicated, and I saw him like rigging things, and he actually left it on his driveway for a couple of days with a tent, like one of those pop-up tents, so and he was working on it during the day. He was out there with a light at night. That kind of got away from him, that repair. He probably should have taken it in to the mechanic to do at that point. 2 days working on it, day and night. So there is a thing where the pool can get away from you, and if it starts getting algae and starts to turn green, that may be the time to call professional service in, at least to clean the pool up and get it back to normal, so you can maybe get a fresh start on it. But there are ways to cure that, and of course, you can go to the Trouble-Free Pool Forum, and they'll teach you about the slam method. But there is a point where it may just get away from you, and the sooner you pull the plug, the better. If you call someone out for a green pool that's like a level 1 or 2, it's going to save you a lot more money than calling someone out when it's a level 4. And a lot of times the pool gets away from you because of one of those 3 missing elements. You don't have the knowledge to balance the chemicals, or you just weren't motivated to do the pool correctly. And again, those elements are really important if you're going to do it successfully. It's not a super time consumer, and it's not super hard to do, but those elements need to be there. And the Pool Guy Podcast Show has teamed up with UPA to bring you affordable, reliable liability insurance starting at just $64 a month. Get up to $2 million in coverage, and the members of my coaching group get an even lower rate. Protect your business and your peace of mind. Sign up with UPA today by clicking the link in the podcast description. The other thing that I see all the time, number 2, is a failure to respect the filter. Now, the pool filter is something that should be respected because that's just like everything to the pool, or one of the 3rd pillars in my opinion, but it's everything to the pool if you're doing it yourself, because that affects the water quality, that affects the flow, and ultimately this could cause the pool to have algae and turn green on you because the filter is not being cleaned or maintained correctly. I can't tell you how many times I've taken over a service account and I get there and the pool looks, like it needs service for sure. And I take the filter apart and there's like torn DE grids in there. There's broken grids. I've had them assembled, when you assemble a DE filter out there, the Pool Pros, it goes in that circular fashion. I've had them where the grids are like reversed or different directions. I've had filters where I opened up DE filters and there's no diatomaceous earth at all on the grids. So this is something that is really crucial if you're going to do it yourself. And you may want to hire someone to clean the filter for you. That's actually a good possibility. And I should mention this right now because I think it's an important point, that there are pool service companies out there that will do different levels of service for you. And I would suggest, if you want to do something where you're doing the pool partially and having someone do other things for you, it's a great option. I mean, there's a lot of times where I know people in my neighborhood that do their own oil change, but they'll take the car into the mechanic for brakes and things like that. Same thing where, some people will do their own landscaping, but some will call a landscaper in once a month to trim all the bushes for them. Something to consider, because there's chem-only service, which is really a good service if you don't want to bother balancing the water. Maybe you have an automatic cleaner or a robotic pool cleaner and you can skim the pool and keep it clean, but you just want to take all that off your plate, balancing the water, adding chlorine, muriatic acid, all that you want someone else to do, then you're a great candidate for a chemical-only service. Maybe you want something a little bit higher than that. You want them to do the chemicals and clean the pump basket and skimmer basket for you. Then you also want them to service the filter every 3 to 6 months. That's perfectly fine too. And you just maintain the pool by cleaning it yourself. And that's something that you can do if you have a little bit of time. And I recommend checking around your local pool service companies for those that offer different tiered services and utilize that so that you don't have to be chasing your pool basically if it gets away from you and trying to turn it back to blue again. Now, the filter service is a great option. You can call pool companies and they'll actually just come to do filter service, and they're fine with that. Some of them are looking for extra money, and if you have them on for just filter service, which I've done before myself, when I needed extra money, I advertised for filter cleanings, and I just went to people's backyards, cleaned their filter, and left. Of course, I made sure that there was no dog there that was vicious, that I had access, and I also prepped them that, if I need to change any parts, I'll send them a photo, and then I'll change that part for them and charge them with a little bit of a markup for the labor, and they were perfectly fine with that. And that's actually a pretty lucrative service you can offer if you do pool service. Filter cleaning service is actually great. So learning how to clean your filter is a key in keeping the filter operational, learning how to repair it, basically just changing the filter. When I say repair, it's not like the filter's cracked, but there are parts to it, and there are certain techniques that you need to know how to clean and put the filter back together correctly. And most of the time, you want to change the filter elements for a D filter and a cartridge filter. If it's a quad cartridge filter, every 3 years. And if it's a single cartridge filter, maybe every 3 to 9 months, somewhere in that zone is when you want to change the cartridge. So the filter is the second element that I see a lot of failure with when people try to do the pools themselves. And I think the third failure, and this is something that happens a lot, is that they just don't do a very good job overall with their pool care. They're not emptying the pump basket or skimmer basket regularly. They're not cleaning the pool regularly. They're not checking the automatic cleaner, see if it's working. And the pool doesn't look great. So, some people don't care how their pool looks in their backyard. Honestly, they just, want to just make sure it doesn't turn green. But I also think that that is a factor in the overall pool care. If you leave dirt on the bottom, and this has happened on my route where I took over a pool that the equipment wasn't running, the water was okay, wasn't green or anything, but they had a lot of dirt and soil on the bottom of the pool. And then when I finally vacuumed it out, it left staining on the bottom because some dirt has metal in it, and it actually stained the pool plaster, and I couldn't lift the stain. And I told the customer, that's from the dirt just sitting on the bottom for a month, and unfortunately it stained the pool bottom. So there are some things to consider in cleaning the pool, getting the leaves out. All of this helps with the cost of chemicals. When you have your pool that's dirty, full of leaves and dirt and debris, that does make the chlorine work more and it is used up faster. It also has a potential for algae forming because all that organic debris and all the pollen and the leaves will cause algae to form in the pool. So it goes kind of hand in hand. You want to make sure that you're maintaining the pool by cleaning the pool weekly and taking all the debris out, emptying the baskets out. I can't tell you how many accounts I've bidded on where I get to the pool and I look at the pump basket and it's just totally full of debris where I don't know how it's even functioning properly. And that happens as well. Emptying the baskets out is something that you have to do regularly for your own pool care. So there are a lot of pools out there that just don't look great, and the customer is not really on top of the debris or cleanliness of the pool. And that's a mistake. You should really clean your pool to prevent staining and prevent overuse of chemicals. And then I think another fourth one, and I'll end with this one here, is overusing chemicals. Now, like me, you've probably taken on accounts where you see like shock bags and empty chlorine bottles from Home Depot and algicides piled up on the deck. And this is because the customer is trying to maintain their pool, but they're just overdoing it. They're not doing the things that they should do, like clean the filter or make sure they're adding chlorine weekly. So they're shocking the pool and they're treating the algae. And so this is kind of a vicious cycle where they're spending sometimes hundreds of dollars each month on chemicals because things got away from them, and overuse of chemicals because they're not balancing the pool is something I see a lot of. They're just dumping in boatloads of chemicals. They have a floater that's stacked full of trichlor tablets, and all these things are kind of a chain reaction. If you're not doing one thing, something else happens in the pool, and it's something that it can be easily solved by just testing the pool weekly. Getting a good test kit, like a Taylor K2005, test strips are okay, but I really think a reagent test kit would be great. Also maybe a photometer like a Color Q2X Pro 7. That way you can check the chlorine level, the pH and alkalinity every week, or, and check the cyanuric acid level to make sure all that's balanced. Again, this is the knowledge part of it. Number two, that sometimes is lacking. And this is the side effect. You're just dumping boatloads of chemicals in the pool, trying to keep it from turning green or getting it back to a kind of a bluish color. And then again, look for a tiered service area that can do chemistry and do the chemical service for you if you can't handle it. I think that's a perfect compromise. You do the rest of your maintenance and have someone check the chemicals for you and add chemicals to your pool. It's a great service. But I've seen customers that come onto my route that have spent so much money on chemicals. I'll buy like a big old 50-pound bucket of Cal Hypo for $300 and $400, whatever it costs in your area. And they'll use like most of that up in like a month or two. It's a crazy amount of chlorine when there's certain things that need to be corrected so that you're not dumping tons of chlorine in the pool, basically. All of this to say that do-it-yourself pool care is not something that you could take lightly. It's something that you can do just like anything else. I'm not saying that it's rocket science, but sometimes hiring a professional is the best thing. It's not something that you can't budget for if you wanted to hire a pool service company to do a tiered service or even full service. That way you don't have to do anything. The white glove service where you just hire somebody, they come once a week and you don't have to lift a finger and the pool looks great back there. And I would suggest that if you spent a boatload of money to put the pool in the ground, $150,000, and doing it yourself may not be the right option for you at that point. Or if you buy a house with a pool and you really don't know anything about pool service or how to clean the pool, it's not a bad idea to hire somebody to do the pool for you at that point. Again, those three elements are really important, and all three have to actually exist for you to do the pool successfully, in my opinion. And modern pools are somewhat easy and somewhat complicated depending on the automation level of that pool. So the knowledge base is really key, I think. And if all else fails, there is pool service in most areas. Now, if you're in the Midwest or somewhere rural, that may be harder to do. But in most other areas, you can just look around and call someone to help you out. And if the pool's starting to get out of control, definitely call somebody to help you. It's like if you're trying to unclog your own toilet and you can't do it and it's just getting out of control, you're going to have to call a plumber eventually. No difference, I don't think, between calling a pool service in when your pool's out of control or calling a plumber in when you just can't get that toilet unclogged. But those are some of the most common things I run into out there when I'm taking on an account from someone who struggles with their pool. Looking for other podcasts? Every Monday through Friday, I post an episode on YouTube. My website is swimmingpoollearning.com. On the banner, there's a podcast icon. Click on that for a drop-down menu of other podcasts there for you. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.